If we are responsible, the future will be good for the future generations. Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023 Chapter 13 Offences relating to contempt of lawful authority of public servants. Welcome to our detailed overview of Chapter 13. This chapter outlines various offences that involve defying or obstructing the authority of public servants and the penalties associated with these actions. Absconding to avoid summons, Section 206. If an individual absconds to evade being served with a summons, notice, or order issued by a competent public servant, they face penalties. For general avoidance, the punishment includes simple imprisonment up to 1 month, a fine up to 5,000 rupees, or both. If the summons involves appearing in court, the penalties increase to imprisonment for up to 6 months, a fine up to 10,000 rupees, or both. Preventing service of summons, Section 207. Intentionally preventing the service of any summons, notice, or order from a public servant is a punishable offence. This includes hindering the lawful posting of such documents or their removal. General offences are punishable by simple imprisonment for up to 1 month, a fine up to 5,000 rupees, or both. If it involves appearing in court, the penalties increase to imprisonment for up to 6 months, a fine up to 10,000 rupees, or both. Failure to attend, Section 208. Failing to attend as required by a summons, notice, order, or proclamation from a public servant, or leaving before permitted, carries penalties. General non-compliance results in simple imprisonment for up to 1 month, a fine up to 5,000 rupees, or both. For court appearances, the penalties are more severe, including imprisonment for up to 6 months, a fine up to 10,000 rupees, or both. Failure to appear after proclamation, Section 209. Failing to appear as required by a published proclamation can lead to imprisonment for up to 3 years, a fine, or both. If declared a proclaimed offender, the penalties escalate to imprisonment for up to 7 years and a fine. Failure to produce documents, Section 210. Neglecting to produce or deliver required documents or electronic records to a public servant can lead to simple imprisonment for up to 1 month, a fine up to 5,000 rupees, or both. If the documents are for court use, the penalties can increase to 6 months of imprisonment, a fine up to 10,000 rupees, or both. Omission to give notice or information, Section 211. Intentionally omitting to give legally required notice or information to a public servant is punishable. General offences are punishable by simple imprisonment for up to 1 month, a fine up to 5,000 rupees, or both. If the information pertains to an offence or is required to prevent an offence, the penalties increase to 6 months of imprisonment, a fine up to 10,000 rupees, or both. Providing false information, Section 212. Providing false information to a public servant, when legally required to give truthful information, is punishable by simple imprisonment for up to 6 months, a fine up to 5,000 rupees, or both. If the information pertains to an offence, the penalties increase to 2 years of imprisonment, a fine, or both. Refusal to bind by oath, Section 213. Refusing to take an oath or affirmation to state the truth, when required by a public servant, can result in simple imprisonment for up to 6 months, a fine up to 5,000 rupees, or both. Refusal to answer or sign statements, Sections 214 to 215. Refusing to answer questions or sign statements when legally required to do so can lead to simple imprisonment for up to 6 months, a fine up to 5,000 rupees, or both. For refusal to answer, and up to 3 months of imprisonment, a fine up to 3,000 rupees, or both. For refusal to sign. Making false statements under oath, Section 216. Making false statements under oath to a public servant is a serious offence, punishable by imprisonment for up to 3 years and a fine. Providing false information to public servants, Section 217. Providing false information to a public servant to cause them to act wrongly or cause harm is punishable by imprisonment for up to 1 year, a fine up to 10,000 rupees, or both. Obstructing public servants, Sections 218 to 221. Various forms of obstructing public servants in the performance of their duties, including resisting property seizure, obstructing property sales, or purchasing property on behalf of someone legally incapacitated, carry penalties ranging from 1 month to 6 months of imprisonment and fines up to 10,000 rupees. Failure to assist public servants. Section 222. Failing to assist public servants when legally required, especially in executing court processes or preventing offences, is punishable by simple imprisonment for up to 1 month, a fine up to 2,500 rupees, or both. More severe cases can result in up to 6 months of imprisonment and a fine up to 5,000 rupees. Disobedience of public servant orders. Section 223. Disobeying lawful orders issued by public servants can lead to imprisonment for up to 1 year and a fine up to 5,000 rupees. Threatening public servants. Sections 224 to 225. Threatening public servants or others to influence their actions is punishable by imprisonment for up to 2 years, a fine, or both. Threatening someone to stop them from seeking protection from public servants can lead to imprisonment for up to 1 year, a fine, or both. Attempted suicide to compel public servants. Section 226. Attempting suicide to compel or restrain public servants from performing their duties can result in simple imprisonment for up to 1 year, a fine, or both, or community service. In summary, Chapter 13 establishes stringent penalties for various forms of contempt against the lawful authority of public servants, ensuring respect for legal processes and public order. Stay tuned to Info9 Cyber Media for more insights. Stay informed. Live in comfort.